You could mention bands from different regions that are big in those regions or even in that genre of music, but then you get out of that and nobody knows
Well,
who they
we
are.
were all
Like Nordman. Nordman is amazing. They're a Scandinavian band.
Yes. And they did some excellent music, playing a lot with nickel harps. A nickel harp is a very interesting instrument. Came about around the 1400s, preceded the violin, and it had pegs like a hurdy-gurdy. And we were doing a fan show somewhere in Germany in a castle to make a change. And the fans presented me with a nickel harp. They said, just play it. So I went, I have no idea what the hell to play with this. It's 2-octave pegs, chromatic. And anyway, I learned to play it to impress a few people at a party. I can play party pieces on it now, and I do add the nickel harp sometimes to certain music that we play and record. But it's a great instrument. It has 4 strings other than the main strings, and you have like 16 sympathetic strings, so that certain notes will ring more than others. And it's played with a bow, and you play the pegs. Now I've become glued to that instrument. It's a fantastic instrument once you get a little bit of knowledge of it. So I include that quite often, and I often play to myself around the house the nickel harp, plus the mandola, which is over there above the fireplace. And that is an 8-string instrument that was played back in the 1500s. And that's tuned very differently to most instruments. And it has a drone factor to it. And drones were very important in the 14 and 1500s. Of course, especially back in the 1200s, in the King Alphonse and people like that. The Candidas Santa Maria, the drone was very important to monks singing, and they would have that drone going through the basses, and they really didn't have any bars to their music, which was very peculiar, because sometimes you couldn't quite figure out how that was written.
I know some of the inspirations that I like to listen to is, of course, we mentioned Sarah Brightman. I think she's amazing. Not only the old stuff like the song that we recorded, Second Element, but also Eden, La Luna,
Yes.
Harem. There's so just amazing, her vocal prowess and the songs that she chooses and the way that she can change her voice into this big booming opera voice into, not that we try to emulate that, but it's definitely inspirational to be able to listen to that. Also Maggie Riley, I think, is incredible. Maggie Riley's work with Michael Oldfield, and
Fantastic.
even without Midnight Sun, when there's so many songs that she's done, which I know a lot more people obviously know her overseas. Like I might say here it's obscure to know her, but over there people are like, I know exactly who Maggie Riley is.
Again, we're back to, they don't play that on the radio here.
Right.
And
But songs like Back to France or
Yes.
Moonlight Shadow. Moonlight Shadow is one of the songs that inspired us to do Shadow of the Moon in the first place.
Absolutely.
So that was her work with Michael Oldfield.
Yes. My father said to me, he said, don't you think it's a bit risky going over into Renaissance music when you've been known for rock and roll? And I was like, I know it is.
Very brave.
It was a form of kind of suicide, but I had to do it. I'd loved Renaissance music ever since 1976, when I heard David Monroe and the early music concert of London. They were playing all this music by Tilman Sasato, and it just overwhelmed me. I just felt that it was so organic and right. And ever since then, I've been fans of that music.
So our creative process is usually that Ritchie will come out with the music, right? He's often just sitting, playing the guitar, whether it's outside on the deck to the birds and the water, or sitting inside on a couch in front of a fireplace. He's always, always playing. So he comes up with just incredible melodies. And then I'm usually around, so if I'm not running with the kids. So he'll often call me in and say, I've come up with this idea. Here's a melody line, hum it, or, you know, just hum along and let's see if it works. And from there, I just kind of absorb. I feel like his melodies are always so visual, even if they're instrumentals or if they're songs not yet done, waiting to be completed in lyrical form. So it's so easy to just close your eyes and listen to the melody and then channel it and see the pictures that are painted in your head as to what the melody wants to be about. Like, I feel like the melody will always tell you and lead you down that path. So I just kind of try to imagine the pictures painted in my head and make that into words that hopefully other people relate to and resonate with on a deeper emotional level. And it could be about, you know, some legends or myths. Like we love to get inspired by legends, myths, and fairy tales are a big inspiration. Nature, obviously, but hopefully with a very deep emotional connection. We usually go in with just the skeletal idea, which means I'll just sing it and he'll play it on acoustic guitar.
Yes.
And we map it and then we kind of flesh it out from there.
Yes, we do. I'm often drawn to doing it in a purist way with the right instruments, crumb horns, sack butts, mandolas, and then I'll think people just will not accept that. So we kind of compromise and we go in with maybe a synthesizer pulling up certain sounds. And that is a tricky position to be in, because I'm always torn between, let's keep it purist, and then I'm like, who am I kidding? Only I'm going to like it, nobody else. And Candice will put her little fairy dust on it, and it will become a little bit more appropriate for the average listener who hates Renaissance music. 1972, although it can go back. I went to Sunday school in England once, and my mother and father thrashed me if I didn't go. So I turned up, and there was this schoolboy there. I was about 10. He was singing Greensleeves, and I was so taken by that melody. It just took me back to another time. That's where it started. This drug of Renaissance music grabbed me. And then back in 1972, I heard David Monroe in the earMUSIC concert of London playing Tilman Susato, who was a very famous composer back in the 1500s, a thing called Dancerai. And that sold me. After that, all I did was, after my shows with Deep Purple and Rainbow, I would go back to the hotel and play Renaissance music in the hotel, and often get complaints from the people next door. But that's where it started. How about yourself?
I never heard Renaissance music before I met Ritchie. He introduced me to it.
It was me making her sing and play this music. In fact, we were in, I think, New Hope, New Jersey, and we picked up a recorder, and Candice played it immediately. And I said, well, you've obviously had lessons, hadn't you? She said, I've never had lessons, right?
No, I never did.
And she just played all these instruments. She started playing the racket, the crumb horns, and the
bombards, shawms.
The shawms, and the Rauschpfeife.
Yeah.
And she's had no teaching whatsoever, which was very bizarre. I mean, that stuff, if you play, it's not chromatic for a start. It's not like a piano where you just go up chromatically. These are all different shapes and different fingerings. She knew it. And to this day, that's remained an enigma of how the hell does she know that? How the hell did you know that?
I don't know. I'm teaching myself. I'm just trying. I'm feeling my way. He would only play tapes of Renaissance or medieval music throughout the house. And I remember one day looking out the window and the deer were on the front lawn and snow was coming down and listening to this music, and everything just clicked. It sounded like that music was perfect for the visual. It was the perfect meeting of audio and and visual, and like they married perfectly. And you just got this hum, like this amazing vibe, this energy that everything was perfectly placed at that moment. And I think that's what just made me, it just resonated with me at that point. Yes, so our daughter Autumn has written some of the stories that are included in Nature's Light, and our son Rory, so Autumn is 10 and Rory is 8, and Rory did a beautiful painting of artwork of a sun coming up, some beautiful art there. But musically, although Autumn is an amazing writer as far as short stories are concerned, musically, Autumn plays cello, plays guitar, picked it up so easily. Well, she's got the best teacher, of course, for guitar. But so they have their own little jam sessions. But she's got, what, a 3.5 octave range?
She does, yes.
And Rory sings as well. He's amazing, and he plays the drums. He's the percussionist in our family band. But yes. I like the information that you tell people whenever anybody's looking for advice in the musical world. Do you remember what it was?
Get a proper job.
I thought it was you learn your first 3 chords.
Oh, yes, okay. Something I should have done after I learned my first 3 chords was to get a good lawyer.
Because this industry will eat you alive.
They will try and steal everything you make, which is terrible, but I don't take it personally because it's happened to everybody in the business. Luckily, we have a good manager now.
But as far as our kids are concerned, I mean, if they want to get into whatever industry they want to get into, I guess we'll be supportive of them, of course.
Yes.